I'm going to describe what we use inside of our adventure box that we take on every adventure that we do in our family. Just to give some context, we're a family of 4. So it's myself, my wife, and then we got 2 kids, 1 elementary, 1 middle school aged boy. And these are just the things that we've found over the years that are the most helpful whenever we go on adventures. The stuff that we want to make sure that we take with us anytime we're doing an outdoor activity. And we do hiking, we do running, we do bike riding, paddling, kayaking, canoeing. We've got an RV, we got a boat, we travel just in hotels and stuff too. And so these are just the things that we found over the years that we need to have inside of our kit. And so I'm just going to go through my box here, describe the gear, talk a little bit about the box, and just kind of give you some tips overall for what you should have inside of your your essentials camping box. So I'm just going to go through in order. And so the first thing I always got to make sure you got batteries, right? So we always carry around AA's, AAA's, 9 volts with us everywhere that we go. I've also got some really small zip ties in here. Sometimes stuff breaks, especially like with little electronic stuff, and zip ties are super helpful. Always got multi-tools in here, and so I always carry at least 2. And it's just because I found that if you're using them, like you're fishing, for example, and you're in them, you're doing well fishing, it's helpful to have at least 2 of them so that everybody's got access to some pliers. Keep stuff for a bike change, bike tube change, got some levers. I always carry around a permanent marker, and that's because maybe you're labeling stuff that's inside of the ice chest, could be food, whatever, but always like to have a permanent marker with us. Lighters, like to have at least 2 of them, because they tend to run out of fuel and stuff, but I always have at least 2 of them. For the bikes, always got 3-way Allen wrench for making any adjustments on the fly, and I've got my headlamp and 2 flashlights. And so those are the things that I always got inside of here, just kind of a quick access drawer area. In this larger compartment over here, I've always got a roll of shop towels. This is super useful to have, and I didn't used to be able to do this because when I used other sorts of organizer bins, it seems like they always leak. But this thing's super watertight, and it's just really nice when you're out there, you get dirty hands, it could just be from eating also, or maybe you're just got weird suntan lotion stuff going on. It's just really nice to have a towel that you can tear off and use. Shop towels are better just because you can use it more than once, and they're tough and strong. It'd be better for the environment to use a reusable towel, like a cloth towel. I just wouldn't recommend that because it gets nasty, it gets wet, you throw it back in here, and now it stinks up your box, or it could just get moldy and stuff like that. So I like having these guys with me. Also got kind of emergency fire stuff, and so I got some emergency water tablets here to purify water, and then a fire starter. Suntan lotion. Always got suntan lotion that we keep in here. Same with insect repellent. Always got insect repellent with us. And then knives. You can never have enough knives. And so I've got these 4. These first 2 are just kind of nothing fancy. There's just kind of utility knives that I like having around. I don't care about them that much. And then I got a fillet knife for cleaning fish. But it's also just really useful to have a really fine knife for cooking. And then I've got my survival knife, which is kind of more like an axe. So I've got these knives. Always carry a trash bag or a few trash bags with us for cleaning up the river or just for our own garbage. A battery pack. This can, juice up our laptops if we needed it, or just our phones. Always got zip ties, like I said, so these are just a larger pair of zip ties. Patches. So always got gear patches in case you got a leaky coat or, a piece of gear that's just leaking. Could be a dry bag. So just some kind of quick use patches. I found this reusable twisty tie thing on the side of the river one day, and I use this thing a lot. It's actually pretty cool to have, just for kind of temporarily holding stuff up. Maybe something needs to dry. Got a new package of paracord. The other one I went through it, but I use this all the time for hanging up wet clothes or stuff on the boat. It's just, this stuff is not that expensive, and I really don't like having a rope that I'm not sure about, and so I switch out my ropes pretty often and just throw away the old one, put a new one on. It's not a big deal to switch them out. And then finally we got our first aid kit. So I'll make a separate video about the first aid kit, but your first aid kit is something that it's helpful. It's very particular, right? And so when building your first aid kit, I would make sure to think about what are the activities that you do, and with those activities, what are the most common ways you're going to become injured. And so for us, there's like heat-related stuff we need to be prepared for because we live in Texas and it's super hot. For the bikes, maybe you fall off and you get some road rash, so we got just general bandages and stuff. For fishing, maybe you get punctured by a hook, so you got a hole, you know, and it could be deep. So we got stuff if that were to happen. Also just like comfort things, like bug bites, you got little kids, right? And some, maybe they just need some Tylenol or some stomach stuff if they're kind of feeling gross while you're out there. And so that's what I keep up here on the top. And all these things that are up here on the top, I mean, these are the things that we use all the time. All the time. And so that's why I got them kind of up here in this top part. In the zippers, in the bottom portion, I've got other sorts of things. So if I take this shelf out, now we get to the other compartment. And the first thing we got is the most important piece of equipment in the entire box. And so we're in Texas, and for us the most important piece of equipment is the water filter. And so we use this thing all the time. If we're on the river, we're on the lake, you know, we're constantly getting new water. I love having this thing because I don't like having a bunch of bottles all over the place. I just don't like extra junk inside of to keep track of. And so we like having just a couple of bottles that we're just constantly refilling out of the river or out of the lake. When you get your water filter, it's going to have a handy dandy little bag. You know, can put it in, a little brand name on it and everything. But that'll break within the first, you know, dozen uses. And so I've just kind of done this, which is I don't even really have a bag for the filter. And then this is your input hose, which is going to be in the river or the lake anyways, so it doesn't need to say ultra clean. And so I just kind of throw them in there. And then the outlet hose, where your clean water goes, that does need to stay clean, so that's inside of this reusable kind of strong Ziploc sort of a bag. It's not a Ziploc, but just a reusable bag that we got off the internet. And so that's where I put the output hose, so that way it does stay clean, because you don't want that getting dirty, because that's what you're actually drinking from, right? Also keep fuel, you know, inside of here. 2 camp stoves in case we want to start up a fire. Cooking pot if we want to boil water, or elsewhere in here I've got, you know, like some instant coffee and tea and stuff. So if we want to make a drink or just have some boiled water, you can actually make a lot to eat with boiling water. We've got everything there. Solar powered lantern, just in case we need that. That's what I keep down here. And then up top, I keep more, I guess, specialty items, stuff that we, you know, won't be needing all the time, but is useful. So the first is over here. This has been a game changer. It doesn't seem like a big thing, but just having a bar of soap inside of your stuff. There's a lot of times maybe you're fishing, or maybe you're about to eat, you know, on the side of the river, or you just finished baiting a bunch of hooks, or maybe you're just all sweaty after a bike ride. It's just nice to have a bar of soap just to clean yourself. It's, you know, not to kind of wipe off, it actually clean yourself. It's really nice. The other cool thing about having a bar of soap in here in a plastic bag is it makes everything smell nice. Every time you open it up, it smells like your bar soap, right? So I like having that. So we got bar soap in here. Also got some feminine products and contact solution in a case. I wear disposable contacts, so I got extra disposable contacts inside here. On this side, we keep this reusable plastic silverware stuff. Not a ton of it, just 1 fork, 1 spoon, 1 knife. That's fine. So if we're gonna eat something, we've got some utensils if we need them. Got koozie in here as well. Up top, this was a game changer. If you do not know about wag bags are like essential, especially if you have kids. What this is basically a couple of super reinforced Ziploc bags and bags with, you know, seals on them that you can use for a number 2 on the go. And so for us, we've always got a bucket. It's actually right here inside of all of our gear. And it's, you know, where we store all of our tackle box. And we've always got the bucket with us. And so we'll just use the bucket. You put this plastic liner inside, go inside of there. You pick it up, you put it inside of a second bag. Both of them seal. And then you can throw it away next time you come into a trash can. There's also like a chemical inside of here so that once liquid goes into the bag, it'll become a gel. So everything stays solid. So I know that sounds really gross, but I think digging a hole is way more gross. This is actually very clean, because you're not having to get in any weird positions and contort yourself, or you can actually accidentally, you know, pee on your foot or something. And so I would much rather do this. And you can use this, you know, on the side of the river. You can use this in the RV, in the boat. This is game changer, especially if you've ever been on a hike or an outdoor activity, and then your kid, you know, has a number 2 situation in the middle, and it like ruins your day because you got to stop everything you're doing. This is awesome. So, anyways. Wag bags. I'll have a separate video just on these guys, but these are, I really love these things. We always keep these in stock. So we got like 3 of them in here at all times. I also keep a I always do the wilderness first aid certification and just my normal first aid certification every year. And so when I'm sitting in the class, this is the book that they give you. And so I put all my notes inside of here, so that way I can keep it inside of our gear, so that if we do have a situation, I can go back and look at my notes and remember what it is that I need to be doing. I've also got other first aid stuff in here, like a face shield, for CPR, stuff like that, and extra Ziploc bags. I like having extra Ziploc bags just because, you might need to seal something up for waterproof, but also it's nice if you have something that you're taking out of the ice chest to eat, and maybe you don't finish all of it, and you don't want to put that opened container back in the ice chest. It'll make a mess or ruin your food. So it's nice to have Ziplocs that you can just kind of use to make sure your food doesn't get all messed up. And so that's what we use as far as gear is concerned. So the next part is like, what kinds of gear should you get? Because my needs are going to be different from yours, I'm sure. So number one is, I would say, try to always reduce space. I really don't like having a bunch of stuff, whether we're in the boat or the RV, the whatever. I just don't like a bunch of stuff. And so anything you can do to use like backpacking style equipment is a great space saver. The other thing is, don't get specialty stuff if you don't need it. So like, I've seen specialty trash bags, for adventuring stuff. You don't need a special trash bag. Just normal, regular old trash bags are fine. Next, this is unusual. I kind of made 2 mistakes in a row when I was getting this stuff, but whenever you're getting whatever stuff you're going to use, always try to get small volumes. And so these are way too big. Usually I keep one that's about half this size in here. Same with the insect repellent. It's just this is what they had on sale, so that's what I got. But it's always better to have a smaller container because, number one, it's not going to take up as much space inside of your stuff. But the other reason is this stuff goes bad, right? Especially sunscreen. It only lasts for like a year max. And so it's better to have a small volume that you use regularly and you replace regularly so that you know that it is always effective, instead of some thingy you stick in here and it just bounces around for 2 or 3 seasons a year, and then you go to use it and it's not even good anymore, right? So I like to have just a small volume, use it regularly, replace regularly, and that is going to work better for you. Finally, this video is more about, our kit, the gear that goes inside of here, but I will take a few seconds to talk about the box itself. So I'm really happy that Yeti came out with this box. I was wishing someone would make something like this for like years before it came out, because I would use other boxes, but if it's just kind of like a plastic container, first of all, you're just throwing everything in there and it's totally disorganized, and every time you open it up, you got to go look and find what it is you wanted. This is just so much more tidy. And I found that when it is easier to find things, you're much more likely to just go and get what you need, close it, and it's it's not a pain to get in and out. Sometimes with the big one, I wouldn't go in because I just didn't feel like dealing with it. I needed something quick. The next is just, this thing is indestructible, right? So anything that I put in here, it's going to survive. It's going to be totally fine. A good example is these towels. With previous tubs that I was using, I would always take these things out and somehow they got wet and they're all full of mold. It's gross. Or they smell bad just because they got kind of damp. It just seems like everything else would leak. This thing is 1000% waterproof. Nothing is going to happen to anything you put in here. As long as you remember to do the buckles. If you got little kids, you got to make sure that they do the buckles. But this is like an indestructible box. And so anything you put in here is going to be safe. Finally, they did the dimensions perfect on this thing. It fits everywhere. It fits in my kayak like exactly where it needs to go, so that it's not, making me fall because it's too big. This is actually my seat inside of my boat. This is what I sit on inside the canoe and the kayak. This is my seat. And so when you sit on it, it's also at just about the right height. When you put it in the outboard boat, the big boat, fiberglass boat, it fits underneath the back deck perfectly so that it's completely out of the way. In the car, it'll fit in all of our cars, perfectly, in the trunk or the bed of the truck. We don't really have like a car, like a sedan. So I don't really know about the back seat, but you could just put it down there. I'm sure it would fit. And so this has been like a huge, major addition. I use this piece of equipment more than anything else that we have, is all the stuff that's inside of here. And so, anyways, just about the box itself, I really like that. Finally, when you are making your gearbox, one question you might ask is like, do I want to have a gearbox for each activity? So like, do you want to have one for each car? Some people do that. Or do you just want to have one and you take it from place to place? I really would suggest that you just have one. And the reason is you want the stuff in here to be things that you're using all of the time. You don't want to put stuff in here and then it's like months until you open it back up again. And so if you have just one box, you just always seem to know what's in there. You know if you have what you need. When I had multiple boxes, first of all, that's expensive because now you gotta go buy all that stuff from multiple boxes. But it seems like I'd always leave something behind, or I got this box for the car, but I should have taken the one that was for the boat. This works better to just have one. And so this is what the kit that we've kind of refined over the last several years of traveling with our family and kind of doing all sorts of adventures with our family. And this box has been amazing for that. And so hope that's helpful to you. I'm sure that your activities are different than mine, and so maybe not all these gear pieces are useful to you. But have fun. There's lots of cool adventures out there.